Good afternoon or good evening. Welcome to the listening session for the Volusia County Charter Review Commission. I want to thank you all for being out here this evening. We're going to start off with a roll call of the members that are present this evening. We've got a full house.
Mr. Watts,
Here.
Mr. Clayton, Mr. Ingram, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Lewis, Ms. Manuzzi, Mr. Parker, Mr. Sakonowski,
Here.
Ms. Schreiber, Mr. Tolland.
Here. Okay.
Did she call Amy Munizzi? I'm sorry.
She did.
She did.
We counted you.
Thank you.
So, all right. Well, I want to again start off by saying thank you and welcome. We've been doing these sessions over the past several weeks around the county. It's nice to actually do one that I could walk to. Welcome to DeLand. Glad to see you all here. Recognize the county chair is also in the audience this evening, so thank you for being here. Just want to offer a couple of kind of opening remarks and then really get over to the business of why we're here and why you're here, and that is providing comments and feedback. These are, the start to a process that'll probably take us around 8 months or so to work through as we look at the charter and as we look at, any potential amendments to it that would then ultimately come to the voters on the ballot next year. Again, we appreciate you being here. There may also be follow-up public input sessions like this. You are very welcome to come to any of our meetings. If you go to the website on the county's website, there's a list of all the meeting times and locations and dates. There's also an email address on there that you can send in any other suggestions that you may have or you get from input from others. So please, if you haven't, take the time to do that. That way we can also make sure that we're getting that in an electronic format. You can go on and look at the videos of the prior sessions. Those are all available on the county's YouTube channel. It's riveting, things to sit and watch if you want to spend some time doing it. But as I've said at some of our prior meetings, we're here to look at the charter, and our charter sets up, this review process once every 10 years. And we've talked a little bit at some of the prior meetings about, what is a charter? What is a charter county versus a non-charter county? So, Volusia County is one of about half of the counties in Florida that has a home rule charter versus being a non-charter county, which means that effectively Volusia County has all of the authority that's not prohibited by the state constitution or statutes. So we get flexibility in how we set up the structure of our government, which is what the charter really is. It's a structural document that kind of outlines the power and authority that the county government has within Volusia County. Now, if you're a non-charter county, you don't have that flexibility. You have whatever powers are granted to you in the Constitution or in the statutes. So, I think the charter form gives us a lot more flexibility to operate in areas that haven't been preempted or reserved to the state, which kind of is smaller and smaller every year, but still gives you that additional flexibility. We started out at our first organizational meeting. We adopted a set of rules. We've adopted a 3-minute time limit for public comment. If you've been at some of the prior listening sessions, it's a guideline. We've been pretty open and flexible with that. So if you need time, just ask for it, and we'll make sure that you get a chance to say everything that you want to. So with that, if there's no other business from staff, I'm looking for staff. I think we're good. Then I will go ahead. You hearing everything okay? Okay. Then I'll go ahead and start off right into speakers. Okay. Okay. It's plugged in now, so it seems like maybe it should be working. All right. So we'll turn directly into calling up our first speaker, Robert Flaherty. Come forward, state your name and address for the record, and you've got 3 minutes.
Robert Flaherty, Deltona. Pedestrian safety reporting request. The crisis. Pedestrian fatalities in the United States have surged 48% over the past decade, according to the Governor's Highway Safety Association. Florida ranks as the second deadliest state for pedestrians. The Deltona, Daytona Beach, Ormond Beach metro area was ranked the deadliest in the nation in Smart Growth America's 2022 Dangerous by Design report. The data exists, but is it accessible? Pedestrian death and injury data is collected and analyzed by organizations such as GHSA and the University of Florida GeoPlan Center. This data is funded by taxpayers and should be accessible to the public, not siloed within law enforcement agencies. The proposal, I respectfully request the Commission recommend placing the following amendment on the 2026 ballot. Volusia County shall maintain a publicly accessible pedestrian safety data portal, independent of law enforcement. The portal shall be updated quarterly by a designated data steward who shall have the authority to escalate and correct data errors. Why data integrity matters. In one Volusia County case involving both a pedestrian death and an injury, the driver's name was misspelled in the initial crash report, on the blood sample documentation, in the internal affairs report. This raises serious concerns. Is accurate data being shared with the oversight agencies? Is any data being shared at all? The ask. I urge this commission to support transparency, accountability, and public safety by recommending this amendment for the 2026 ballot. Thank you for your time and consideration. Yield.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. Appreciate you coming out and again to offer some thoughts. So, okay, next speaker is Robert Sanchez. Again, if you state your name and address for the record, please.
Robert Sanchez, Edgewater, Florida. Good afternoon, members of the Volusia County Charter Review Board. My name is Robert Sanchez, and I'm here to propose urgent amendments to our county charter to protect constitutional rights, ensure due process, and stop county overreach. These changes address systemic abuses I've faced. First, county inspections violate the Fourth Amendment. From January 2014 to January 2024, over 6,000 inspections led to violations, but only one used an inspection warrant, as required by Florida Statute 933.21. In my case, agents enter my property without consent or a warrant, ignoring county code. I propose amending the charter to mandate annual training for code enforcement agents on constitutional rights and require a warrant or documented consent before entering private property. Evidence from unauthorized entries must be inadmissible. Second, administrative hearings deny due process and First Amendment rights. In my case, the clerk refused subpoenas for relevant witnesses, silencing voices that could have spoken for me, a violation of my First Amendment right to petition the government for a redress, upheld by the Supreme Court and Lozman versus the City of Riviera Beach, which ruled that government retaliation against protected speech, even with probable cause for action, is unconstitutional. The board dismissed my concerns without a continuance and refused to hear my trespass claims, deferring them elsewhere. The charter must require boards to hear constitutional claims like trespass or free speech violations and dismiss cases with prejudice if the county cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it followed the law. Boards must issue subpoenas and grant continuances when needed. Third, excessive fines violate the Eighth Amendment. My property purchased for $115,000 faces $3 million in liens, a disproportionate penalty. The charter should cap fines or require judicial review for liens exceeding the property's value. Finally, the county attorneys and property appraiser removed 2.5 acres from my name, creating an illegal, non-conforming lot to place back into my name against Volusia County Code without a notice or a hearing, an act I believe constitutes felony theft. Okay? Under Florida law and violates 14th Amendment due process. The charter must prohibit title changes without notice, a public hearing, and consent from all affected parties. These amendments will prevent abuses, reduce litigation like my 1983 action, and restore trust. There also needs to be a better way to inform the citizens about these review hearings that only happen every 10 years. I propose, starting 2 years prior to the next review, the county shall mail out the information in everyone's tax bill. That'll give every property taxpayer 2 notices, and we'll get better participation in these hearings. Thank you. I'm available for questions if anybody needs it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Appreciate your input. I've said this, I've neglected to say this at the beginning. You won't hear a lot of discussion up here because we haven't noticed this meeting as one where the commission will be taking up the issues to talk about them. We will begin those discussions at our October 13th meeting. So invite you to make sure that you're there so you can hear us begin talking about the things we've heard at the listening sessions. Okay, with that, Devin Morris.
Hi, my name's Devin Morris. I live at 130 Boris Avenue here in DeLand, representing my organization, Walkable Volusia. Sorry, I was trying to get close enough so you could hear me. So I wanted to come here today and talk about public transit needs in Volusia County. So it's no secret that our public transit and alternate forms of transit are severely lacking in Volusia. I recently learned that the county collects over $80 million a year in impact fees that are earmarked, for transportation, and 100% of them go toward road construction. Statistically, road construction is the most dangerous as well as the most expensive form of transportation. So what I'm proposing to you all is to consider codifying a permanent funding source for alternate modes of transportation, including not only things like buses and shuttles, but also things like bikeways, bike trails, bike lanes within the cities and on county lands as well. Even if it were something as unambitious as a 70-30 or 80-20 revenue split for those particular impact fees that are already collected, it would mean a massive influx of funding into the VOTRAN, into our trails programs, our bikeway construction, and so forth. So just wanted to come here and talk about the fact that the reason people don't use these alternate forms of transit is because they often don't exist or they don't work well. So the VOTRAN, you commonly hear, why would we expand it? Why would we dedicate funding to it if nobody uses it? But it's putting the cart before the horse. People don't use it because it's unreliable, it's slow, it's not particularly nice to use. So if we were to address these things with funding, as well as expand our bike network, you would see more people use these alternate transit modes. It would reduce the demand for sprawl development. It would make everybody safer. It would increase quality of life and have a tremendous economic benefit as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morris. We appreciate the input. We'll make sure to add that to the list when we start our discussions on the 13th. John Baker, our next speaker.
John Baker, 245 East Constance Road, DeBerry. My first issue is in talking.
I can ask you just,
In speaking with county staff through the years, I am under the impression that the county's minimum standards for environmental protection are not being strictly enforced, that apparently there's a hesitancy to contact the cities and aggressively achieve compliance. So that's my one issue. And the other is, in reading through the charter, I did not see anything that addresses resiliency from sea level rise and climate change. Thank you.
okay, you talked faster than my note-taking abilities, so I appreciate that. But thank you very much. We appreciate your time and coming out to give us feedback. All right, Dr. Wendy Anderson, our next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Wendy Anderson. I live in DeLand at 2451 Sleepy Oak Lane. I do thank you for your service on this commission and recognize that the charter defines the county's core governmental responsibilities. One core responsibility that I believe the county and its cities have is to ensure safe and clean drinking water for all of our residents. Regardless of the political winds and whims from Washington, D.C. that might alter the regulations embodied in the 1974 Clean Water Act, we, our local governments, must ensure that our drinking water is in fact safe. I recommend or I propose an amendment for inclusion of additional language in Article 2, Section 202.4 of the County Charter that provides for minimum standards of environmental protection. I have 5 key elements to this. 1, we shall never privatize the sourcing, treatment, and distribution of our potable water supply or the treatment and disposition of our wastewater supply. Water is and always should be a public good in Volusia County. Number two, given the indisputable realities of population growth and of saltwater intrusion into our freshwater aquifer, we shall never ban any possible water source for inclusion in our treated potable water supply. We will need all tools in the toolbox available to us as our water supply becomes increasingly strained. We shall ensure that the cleanest water sources shall be prioritized for personal potable uses, and that when those supplies are increasingly strained, a ban on the supply's use for landscape irrigation shall go into effect. Stormwater and reclaimed wastewater shall be used instead for landscapes that must be irrigated. Number four, the reuse of gray water for non-potable uses such as irrigation and toilet flushing shall be allowed in Volusia County. And number five, we must not defer to federal leniencies or postponed requirements to clean up known contaminants such as PFAS from our county's water supplies. When we know these contaminants exist and are threatening the health and safety of our residents, we must act swiftly to clean the water supply. I would be happy to meet with each and every one of you to discuss each of these 5 elements and go over the implications for those. But in the meantime, those are my contributions. These commitments to clean water, in my opinion, are core governmental responsibilities and should be denoted in the county charter. Thank you very much.
Just for clarification, point 3, was your point 3 the use for landscaping being limited once you get to a certain?
Yes.
Okay, I had 1, 2, 4, and 5. I just wanted to make sure I had
In
3.
my notes.
That'd be great. If you could leave those, it'd be fantastic. Okay. Those are the speakers I have signed up for this evening. Is anybody else in the audience that would like to speak? Okay. We appreciate you all being here. Any questions from members of the commission?
Mr. Chair, what's the chances for us getting these proposals so we can actually read them and look at them? I know all of them have notes, and if they could present them to us, or so like I said, so we can sit down and read them and really decipher what's in them.
So just to for our next agenda, so the October 13th meeting is our next meeting. I've been talking with staff about organizing the materials that have been submitted or the comments that have been made at all of our prior meetings. So our next agenda will include a summary of either the written copies of the written comments that we've received, and a summary of any spoken comments or anything else that's been provided at these meetings. That'll make up the beginning part of our agenda. At our next meeting, we'll be going through all those materials, looking at each of the suggestions that have been offered or that have been emailed into the website, so that we can begin, kind of looking at those, prioritizing how we want to kind of talk through each of those issues. We'll also have a summary of some suggested, kind of housekeeping changes coming from county staff for, their recommendations and things we might want to look at in this process. And then we'll open up and have a general discussion about anything that members of the commission also think we might want to look at through the process. So we'll have all of that material in our next agenda packet. So you should be able to have that, a few days in advance of that meeting to start looking through it. Okay. Ms. Schreiber, I think you were looking to make a comment as well.
I just want, so I was going to ask the same thing that Ben was just asking to a certain degree. I just wanted to say that attending all the meetings, I don't recall anyone turning in any handouts, but if any handouts are turned in, I would really like to have them. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah, and I'll make sure that as we are putting those materials together, anything we've received in writing and any of the emails that have come in, we'll get copies of all of that as well as part of our agenda materials for the next meeting. So, okay, very good. Yes, sir. Nick?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Just share with the audience so that they have it, the email address to send any additional, or that they could share the email address to their people.
Yeah, I always forget the email address. Give me a second, I'll pull it back up.
I am, but I'm not sure about my mic. It's VC Charter vcharterreview@volusia.org.
So just for everybody that's here, vcharterreview@volusia.org is the email that you can use that'll basically, if you've got any written comments you'd like to submit, anything else you'd like to send in, any other thoughts that you come up with after this meeting, if you'll send that in, that's going to be part of what staff is pulling together to summarize for us to begin our discussions starting in the October 13th meeting. So make sure if you've got anything that's a follow-up, or Ms. Anderson, if you want to send in a copy of your written comments, then that will get to us in our agenda materials.
Mr. Chair, also on the website, there's a link that you can just click on without having to put in the email address. That might be a little bit easier for folks.
Yeah, if you, I think staff has done a really nice job of organizing this online. So if you go to the county's webpage, and if you look for the Charter Review Commission, the homepage for the Charter Review Commission has a series of drop-down menu items on the right-hand side. And the last one that's down there is submit your input. So if you can't remember if you're like me and can't remember the email address from meeting to meeting, go to that website, click on that button. You'll be able to type in any of the input or put your documents in there for us to consider as well as part of our materials. So, okay. Anybody else, any other member of the commission have anything that you'd want to raise? Okay, staff, do you have anything for us before we adjourn? Well, again, I want to thank you. This is our fifth and final of this initial round of public, listening sessions. Depending on the areas that we start talking about, we may schedule additional follow-up meetings to go back out to each of the council districts, depending on the areas that we think we may benefit from some additional input. So just keep watch on the agendas, keep watch on that website. This, I will say, I think has been our most well-attended listening session. So I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight. You're part of the biggest crowd that we've had. So thank you for being here. And with that, we'll stand adjourned.